Ready? Yep. Here we go. Cool. Foley is basically adding sound to what's been filmed. It's basically adding all the little nuances and things that kind of add to the story, like footsteps, anything that the actor holds or carries or puts down or handles, clothing movement, everything like that. We add that in the studio after the film has been shot. The only thing that they're worried about capturing audio-wise while they're filming is the voice, is the story, the dialogue. So everything around that doesn't get picked up, especially because the mics that they use are shotgun mics, and they're very directional. So nothing else gets picked up besides the dialogue.
So we come in and then add everything to it. Yeah. We bring it to life. That's whatever's missing during recording on set, and that we, bring it back to life. We make it sound like as if we never even recorded it.
That's the whole idea behind Foley, is you don't know the job's done if we did a good job. I mean, basically, you have a team of a recorder and an artist, and that's their job, is they get a film brought to them and they say, we need Foley for this. And a lot of it is practical, so it's just off the bat, 80% of the time we know exactly what we're going to need to do. But yeah, basically we get the film, we watch it down, we cue it, we make sure that everything is in place before we even go into recording. That way we know what we're going to need. So then we go and record it, and then it gets edited and then gets sent to the mix stage. Cueing basically means you watch the movie down and you need to put in where and when something's going to happen. Some people use cue sheets, they write them down. What we do is we actually use Pro Tools, and we create empty region groups, and we'll name them what it is. For example, if the main character is walking on screen, we have to say, okay, the main character starting here, what the character is wearing, what type of shoe, what surface, and for how long. So we map out it's basically a map. You map out the entire movie. That way when you go in to shoot, everything's already in place and you can just do cue after cue after cue.
And then we separate it, so it doesn't get, if I'm in a room, for props-wise, if I'm in a room, you don't want to keep jumping around for time-wise. So we split them up to, the first couple tracks is hand pats, everything that would be body touches and all that kind of stuff. And then we go into like props-wise, like picking up glass cup, putting it down, movement, anything like that. And then the bottom tracks, we add, like car seats, chairs, office chairs, all that stuff for like sitting down, all that stuff. So it stays consistently throughout the whole recording session. So we don't, be able to be time efficient with everything.
I don't just pay attention to one person throughout the movie. I cue everyone that I see on screen as the movie's going. So in Pro Tools, I'll have my tracks labeled, the characters' names, track after track after track. And then, using region groups, you're able to just map out every single character. So if I come to a character, I'll just say, okay, I'll go down to his track, label, what type of shoe he's wearing, the surface, and then I'll move on. And if I see someone else, I'll go to his track. That way it's just kind of Tetris. You look at it from, back it up, and you just see everyone's footsteps with region groups. Option Command G creates a region group. It's basically empty space, and it's no audio, so it doesn't take up any space in your audio files folder. So it's just an easy way to create markers or cues. So, and you can name them too. So, copy and paste, whichever. Yeah.
And if you want to send it to somebody, and they have the picture and everything, and you don't have to. It's easier to send it through email because it's a small file.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a more efficient way of queuing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So markers wise, it's like markers and but this one's like you set up your record track, you put your cursor where it's at, where your beeps are at. But like I don't know, it depends on everybody. We do a 1 second pre-roll, and I watch picture, but people put 3 beeps beforehand. So you can put I don't know like 2 second pre-roll, and you hit the beeps and then you record. So that way like it's ready to put where the beeps need to be, where the cursor is, and you just go from there.
Mm-hmm. And it's quicker because you can just tab over to the next region, just keep hitting tab, tab, tab,
Yeah.
record, tab, record, tab. It's a lot easier than trying to find out where your markers are and what they say and which track that belongs to. So, yeah. Basically, after the Foley shot, it gets sent to an editor, who then makes sure everything is in sync. All the footsteps, make sure everything is frame accurate. And also, not only with picture, but with the production audio. So you have to make sure that that matches up with the production audio as well. Otherwise, you're going to hear footstep in production audio and then footstep in Foley. So you got to make sure that's real tight, and it has to sync visually as well. So that's basically the main purpose as a Foley editor is sync. That's the first thing. Once you got sync down, you can then go back and try to help the mixer out a little bit and volume graph stuff. Make sure things sit in the mix well, as close as you can. You're not on a dub stage, so as close as you can get it. That way, he doesn't have to spend a lot of time doing that. So yeah, sync, volume automation, and then once you get everything set up, you can then send it to the dub stage.
And sometimes, Foley editor could also, maybe a sound is kind of sounding different than it's supposed to be. You use some processors or whatever to, change it up to make it, fit into where it needs to be. So, there's different aspects you could do with it. It's just, as long as the Foley editor knows, like, what the sound needs to be sounding like, so before it goes to the mix stage, it sounds perfect, close to perfect.
And that also depends on how much time you have too. You may not have time to do all that either.
That's true.
Because if you're working in TV, a lot of times they don't even have Foley editors. It goes straight from the Foley recording stage to the dub stage. So you really have to be on your game as a Foley artist if you're working on TV with sync and everything, because everything just goes straight there. They play through it, and they bring it up if they need to, and it better be in sync. Otherwise, they have to waste time to fix it.
Yeah.
So, but with film, I think you definitely get a lot more time because they do want to make sure everything is good. So you do have time to process stuff, EQ things, stuff like that. When it gets to the mixing stage, the mixer imports everything, and then basically he's just going to run through everything, make sure everything fits in with production. First of all, did you do your job? And then it really depends on, as far as volume goes and how well it plays through, just kind of depends on the scene and if the director wants that for one thing. But a lot of the times, Foley is supposed to be transparent. It's not like, oh my gosh, there's the Foley. It's supposed to be, oh, that sounds great, but you're not supposed to you're not supposed to tell that it's Foley. So that's how the mixer has to work with Foley is they'll bring it up enough to where you can hear it, but that's pretty much it. And then footsteps are usually played really low. So yeah, I mean, it just depends on the scene, whether it requires a lot of Foley. There are some scenes where it's very Foley driven, where the Foley is going to be really loud to kind of carry the story through. So yeah, it just depends on the scene and the way the director wants it to be and it depends on the way the director wants it to be heard.
So sometimes you work with an effects editor and you want to, add Foley to whatever effects it is to make it sound a little more real, whenever it goes on the mix stage. So sometimes you are partnered with the effects editor and ask them like, what do you need to, add to whatever effects you have to make it more alive?
Yeah, because for effects editors, a lot of the times it's hard for them to cut something in and make it sound real. So you kind of need that human touch of Foley to just sprinkle it in there just to make it sound like one sound. And then once it gets to the mix stage, you also have the production audio to mix in with that. So it's really three different areas three different areas have one sound that you mix together to make it sound big and real. Sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's like you want, in Foley, you want to make this really cool sound, or you want it to be up front. You're like, I hope this plays well through in the movie. But then you have sound effects who also do the same thing, and all their sounds are already compressed and big and designed already. So some of it gets through. It's really up to the mixer, but. Yeah, I mean it's fun that way because you do have competition, so you want to shine.
Mm-hmm.
You want to show people that you can do a good job and create this awesome sound. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, especially when you're all friends and family at the studio like we are here. So yeah.
Yeah, we all work together as a team pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes we add stuff to it and it gets masked. It's just the nature of effects sometimes.
Mm-hmm. You need it. You need the human touch. You can't cut everything in. You need someone. You need someone watching on screen and trying to imitate that person on screen while they're being recorded, because that adds such. It can add emotion. It can add, like I said, the human touch. You need that. You need that in your movie. Without it, it just seems very dull, very bland. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some elements in Foley that is extremely hard to cut in. I mean, you could cut it in, but it's not going to sound like what you want to, pertain, like how the character is feeling in that scene, you know what I mean? So you use Foley to, nail the performance of what that person is doing. Because if you're trying to cut it in, it kind of almost sounds like, mono. You're saying, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. But if you add elements to it like dirt and gravel and stuff like that, you make it sound different than everybody else that has the same library. So you become your own unique signature because you have, your own Foley for that sound job. So you stand out than everybody's library they just put in and they just cut it in. So that's what, makes you unique in how you add Foley to your sound.
Especially with footsteps, because when I'm doing a cue, if I'm recording and I get sync right, that's good. I got the sync, but did you get the feel of the person on screen? Did you get the emotion? Did you get the attitude of the walk right? That's another reason why Foley is important. So if I have to redo a cue, sometimes it's because of sync. Other times it's because I didn't get the attitude right of the person. So and you definitely need that. And you can't get that. You can't cut that in. You can't cut attitude in.
Yeah, so how I approach, doing my side of props wise, adding emotion, like you want to be playing the character. And when you play the character, you fill in and make it more warm. You make it more alive, make it more, noticeable. Because when you cut in, there's certain elements that is missing. And this way, you fill it up all the way. You play through the character how you want to play through with Foley. Little detail stuff that cutting it in could be very tedious and it won't sound, smooth as if you did it with props, as recorded through Foley. For example, like taking off clothes. Maybe it's an intimate scene, and you want, someone's taking someone's clothes off in a certain way. It's really difficult to even cut it in. Really, really difficult. So how you use Foley is that you could, mimic and be in the character of that person and nail exactly what is going on screen. We're actors that people really don't know about.
Yep, they'll never know. And it's funny explaining it to people too. It's like, I walked to that person, or I pretty much handled. I acted. I was him. That's who I was on stage
Or
today.
those are my kisses, or those are and those are my bed movements, or and that's me taking off that clothes, or something like that, or that's me sipping on that drink, or things like that. Like nobody notices it because they think, oh, they just recorded on set.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole element of it, is to make it sound like it was all recorded there and that we never did a job on it at all.
Yeah.
But you bring it to life.
We bring it to life, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.